Hail to the king, baby.
Friends, gentlemen, countrymen, we got some fun news to talk about tonight because this is wild. I don't think anybody saw this one coming anywhere. I mean, one thing that's been consistent throughout the years has been Arcade1Up and Cyrus Rosenberg. At no point did we think that, you know, after John D left and after Scott Bacharach left, that really there was going to be any more defections or people leaving Arcade1Up. But yet we have some very interesting breaking news that I just randomly happened upon that really has got to spark some speculation here about the future of both Arcade1Up and Basic Fun. And we even get to do a little bit of conspiracy stuff. That's why I brought my good friend 19K Fox in, because he's a right-wing conspiracy nut. So I figured this was the best thing they could do.
Guilty as charged.
P-Dubs, wait, did Spreetail confirm this? I don't know, man. They're in the chat, P-Dubs. What do you want me to say? But yeah, I'm just going to get to it. I got a notification on my phone because on my LinkedIn, I obviously have some connections with home arcade people. I've got John D on there and I've got Cyrus on there. And I got a notification that said, let's congratulate Cyrus Rosenberg on his new position at Basic Fun. And sure enough, if you check out Cyrus's LinkedIn page now, he has a new title. He is the Senior Manager Licensing Home Arcades, Specialty Collectibles, and Good Stuff at Basic Fun. So it looks like Cyrus is no longer working with Arcade1Up as the licensing director. In fact, now he is the licensing director for Basic Fun. Fox, tell me your first thoughts about this, seeing it in the chat. And like, I wrote you and I said, I got something fun to talk about. Do you want to come out with me? And you were like, oh, what is another riser announcement?
I'm just going to say it's weird that he hasn't updated his Tinder yet. Well, I guess we'll get that next video. What I think, and listen, Mike just told me about this, guys, as I jumped in and I saw this. So we've had seconds to sort of analyze this. Maybe he's had a few minutes. It looks to me, Mike, I don't know. Does it look like they've carved out a completely different department within Basic Fun? I mean, they're calling out home arcades and specialty collectibles and good stuff. Have they made a completely different department focused on this type of product? And he is now in charge of that.
Maybe. I mean, I think they always thought they had good stuff there, and specialty collectibles.
Well, true, but I think that they've also thought they've had great stuff. So different divisions within the stuff. I mean, I don't know. This is crazy. This is something that I did not expect at all.
No one saw this coming. We thought Cyrus was a lifer and Arcade1Up. I will talk about, you know, he was mentored by John D, brought into the team, really brought up to that position. There were questions like when Cyrus took over, did he have the acumen? Did he have the experience to really take on that role? That's one of the things John D was, you know, kind of critical on of Cyrus taking over that position. So to see him leave, you know, this role that he really came up in and then go with another company is kind of surprising. First off, I will say congratulations to Cyrus. I know a lot of people in the community, really use him as the whipping boy for Arcade1Up and blame him for the faults of the company. And a lot of that comes with the fact that when you're put out front and when you're doing communication with people, they need a face to blame. Like, no one's going to blame Dora because we've never fucking seen Dora, right? So
because Dora's smart.
yeah. So Cyrus, oftentimes and probably not deservedly, has been the whipping boy for Arcade1Up. So congratulations on this new position. But there's so many things it means here. First up, I want to talk about Arcade1Up, because what does this mean for Arcade1Up? Is this just a better opportunity, or is Cyrus looking at the writing on the wall and being like, I got to get the fuck out of here?
Well, he's obviously looking at the writing on the wall. I mean,
Yeah.
if he was there from the ground, kind of from the ground, maybe not actually on the ground level, on the ground floor. He showed up a few years later, but with this bad guy, John D, out of the way, he had full control, right? Why would you leave that position? Because there's absolutely no future. And I don't know why they can't steer the ship right. But I said, good, yeah, they're going to happen tomorrow or in the next few hours. I don't know. Now that I've had a few minutes to process it and think about it, maybe it's not a big fact that he went from one company to another company doing the exact same thing.
No,
I think he was, and deservedly so. I think the criticism of this is deservedly so, where he was putting himself out front, talking about how he's done all these great things. What magazine was he in where he was recognized?
Oh, I've got it right here. The Marquis Who. The Marquis Who's Who in the gaming industry.
Was this just resume building, Mike?
I think this is something, if I'm not mistaken, that companies pay for to advertise their people. So the way I looked at it, and I could be wrong, is that having something like this article written about him added more oomph to his name when he went into meetings with people, because it's another accolade and stuff like that. So I always got the impression Arcade1Up paid for it.
It was more of their self-promotion, not so much his promotion.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I don't think he paid for it. I think the company paid for it on his behalf.
Right.
Yeah.
But not to necessarily promote him, just sort of raise his level, to raise the brand's sort of awareness. I guess that makes sense. It's interesting, though. It does make you kind of think that, okay, take everything else out of it. Basic Fun is investing in a high-level manager to run this division, whether it existed before or it exists now. That's an investment in the future. So this is probably not going to be a one and done for them when it comes to just WrestleFest and this initial phase of cabinets.
So, I think that obviously hiring somebody, if you're going to be Arcade1Up 2.0, hiring a high-level executive from Arcade1Up is probably not a dumb move. So, I will give Cyrus credit. Obviously, this is a new opportunity. I don't want to say Arcade1Up is dead, but I do want to talk about this. One of the things John D talked about before he left was he was very worried because he had done like pretty much all he could do American licensing wise. He got all the licenses, even though we didn't see all the games. He had acquired all the licenses, so there was nothing left for him to do. And I'm wondering if maybe this is also just a challenge thing for Cyrus as well, where Cyrus, maybe it's not the writing on the wall. Arcade1Up is going out of business, but maybe there's not much need for licensing at Arcade1Up right now, because it seems like all they're really doing is continuing the relationships they already have. So do you need a director of licensing at a small startup that's obviously cash strapped, which we know of? They don't have operating revenue, operating cash. So do they need a licensing director, or was it time for him to move on? Because that could probably be a smaller position of someone just keeping those relationships alive.
And maybe he wanted to get out from under the shadow of John D. Perhaps that's part of it, kind of strike out and do your own thing and start fresh.
What does the shadow of John D look like? I would imagine it's just strippers and like
short, and there's a penis, and it's just. No, I think I don't know, man. I think that it's all things considered, it's a net negative for Arcade1Up.
Oh yeah,
just lose somebody at that high level position, and it's a net positive for Basic Fun if you want to be Arcade1Up 2.0. And if there's a community out there that wants this, and I think that there is, and it does say something that right off the bat, I don't know if Cyrus is involved in this at all, but WrestleFest, how did that happen? Did that predate him? Was he involved in that, early on before he was? I have no idea.
So I'll just talk about this. Like, I want to go back to that because that gets into some conspiracy stuff.
Okay,
I
we'll
want to
go back
talk
to
about
that.
in just a bit.
Table that for now.
But right now, the first thing I want to talk about is obviously for Arcade1Up. Like I just said, we just had that interview with Rob. People are going to go back and forth debate whether or not it was a good interview or not. I thought it was honesty, and it's one of the things that. Yeah, Kevin, maybe John D and Cyrus are the arcade Illuminati pulling all the strings. So,
perhaps,
Kevin, you're talking to the wrong people. We're the Illuminati. We decided
to say that out loud.
Yeah, but
it was a combination of things. That real quickly, that interview.
Yeah,
the context of the interview, but then also pull the camera back and see when Beat would take the wide shot. There were more chairs and beanbags than arcade games. It was. I've seen more Arcade1Ups in a Walmart aisle. It was sad, man. It just pathetic. It gave no sense of boldness and a presence. It was just sort of like very much last minute, and Rob just happened to have those in the back of his car.
Oh, it was pathetic. Like just seeing those 6 arcades there. Even like I said in my video, it's smart because those are the 6 arcades they really have for sale right now. So you want to do those, but how do you not bring multiples? And I know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
How do you not bring multiples and fill up that space? I mean, that's what you technically should do.
Yes.
And I know what it is. Arcade1Up is the biggest arcade company that runs like the stupidest not-for-profit in the entire world. They have no on-site staff. They have no operations. There's stories of content creators being at the thing, like building the cabs for them the night before because they have no staff. So I think it's a combination of that. They don't understand how to do their activations, the events are called. So they don't have the staff, they don't have the revenue or the common sense to run an activation. But it looked pathetic. What I did appreciate was the honesty, not the corpo speak of, hey, we're here for the hardcore fans. Like he was just like, listen, man, we've already sold 1 million NBA jams to you idiots. We got to sell them to new people. So we're trying this small thing to get people in apartments that normally wouldn't buy it. Right.
Yeah. And that also speaks to the fact that they just don't have any more licenses. Well, they're just trying to maximize the ones that they have.
That's the question I ask. If maybe there was an issue at Arcade1Up that there was no potential for growth with the company, there was no need of trying to acquire new license or no money to go get new licenses, or it was just time for Cyrus to move on, right? Like it was time for a change. I'm not 100% sure, but what we do know is Cyrus is now with Basic Fun. So what does that mean for Basic Fun? People are going to be critical. There's people in the John D camp that is like, Cyrus can't do anything. He's an idiot. but there's a reality there that even if, Cyrus was along for the ride when most of these licenses came in, which he does have some relationships with some of these other licensors, and he does provide access to this company, whether it's good access or bad access to some of these licensors that's maybe outside their reach right now with their own internal people.
Yes. I don't know. It's hard to judge because if you just look at what happened when John D was there and then what happened when Cyrus was there, and we assume that there was a changing of the guard. What happened that was positive after that? Not much. There were a few sparks of brilliance. There was a different direction and a different shift taken, and that's what I would look at is the slimming down, the reduction of some of the products that we liked, some cabinets just not getting. Why were there so few Street Fighter? Those Dynamos, those Deluxes were great. Why were there so few of those? It seemed like that would be a bona fide hit. I don't know.
Oh, James was live talking about this. I didn't even know James. I had no idea, man. I'm sorry. I didn't check YouTube. Had no clue. But I will say this about Cyrus, and I'll be upfront about this, and some people might be mad at me, but there's a reality there, whether or not anybody wants to admit it, that John is very engrossed in the home arcade community. And as much as, he doesn't want to create bad images and stuff like that, I'm sure he was still forging his path forward, thinking of his future, and maybe there were some negative thoughts. So, losing John and that news being out there, John was fired, probably soured some of Arcade1Up's relationships.
Sure.
John might have soured some of Arcade1Up's
No, that's
relationships
impossible. Can't happen.
intentionally, sabotaged them. The other thing
Blow it
too
up on the
is
way out.
Cyrus had a really hard job after John left. There's a reality there what people don't understand behind the scenes. When John was there, everybody gives him credit. He's the licensing czar, but John also had the money to go out and be like, yeah, WWE, we can do the $1 million deals. Yeah, come back with us, Namco. We can guarantee this amount of money and stuff like that. Cyrus had to go back to these licensors and said, hey, we'd love for you guys to come back, keep making cabs with us, give us new licenses, but we want to pay you much less. So how can we make a deal, right? So, I mean, that was pretty hard for Cyrus to do, because I know for a fact he had to go and renegotiate a lot of their contracts. So, like, you get a story out there like Atari's pissed at Arcade1Up because they're not getting paid. That could be lost in translation. They could not be getting paid, but Atari might be pissed because Arcade1Up came back and said, we're going to offer you a third of what we guaranteed on the last deal, because that's our reality now and what we expect to sell. And Atari was pissed off and said, no, we want our original deal. So he had a really hard uphill battle at Arcade1Up with the licensing side as well. And then, I'm sorry for being an Arcade1Up defender in this situation, but they also had a terrible fucking situation where they would come up with ideas like Alien versus Predator. They had that list of all these cool cabs, Lethal Enforcers, everything they were rumored to do. They went to retailers and they were like, here's the cabs we want to sell you. And the retailers were like, slow down. Maybe give us a couple more Mortal Kombats, a couple more Bandai Namco, and we'll see where we are in 2 years. So, I mean...
yeah, I don't. There's so much that I don't know. I feel it's difficult to comment, but I'll do so anyway. I think that there could have been a couple different things that they could have tried. I know direct to consumer is something that people, don't give much credence to. I think that they could have floated possibilities and ideas and tried things. And if the community did not respond by hitting a certain number, I mean, it was just weird that they only did that with the pro cabinet. If they would have started with something at a lower price point, I would have loved to have seen the reaction of the community. It's something that was manageable, 500 or less, and start there with some weird title, like, I don't know, Robotron, Hubert, whatever. It's time for the community to put their money where the mouth is, right? So say, okay, you say you want this. Here's this weird ass machine for $500. Let's see if we can get 500 people to buy it, right? Put your money down. They never took that route. They did float some ideas out there and try some things, but the retailer was always their customer. I got to think that Basic Fun's in the same position. I mean, they're sort of following the same model. How is it that they could sell WrestleFest?
Well, I think, we're going to get into that in just a second. I do want to bring up this comment from Kevin. Mortal Kombat Golden Teeth, that 100% was Cyrus's fault. Cyrus went in there and he was like, hey guys, we're going to do Star Wars XL. And they were like, no, the graphics are shit. So he was the one who came up with the idea for Mortal Kombat Golden Tee, Midway Golden Tee. So, that is part of it. A lot of the other things about like the Slim Katie and stuff like that, I think people confuse Cyrus's role with some of the things John claimed he did for Arcade1Up. Like, they think that he's in charge of everything. He's building the cabs, all that stuff. Cyrus was not doing that. There was a lot of people in the, decision-making pool. Some idiot at a board meeting was like, we need slimmer cabs. Like, that wasn't necessarily Cyrus's decision, right? Another thing I want to throw out here, $2 super chat from Stringer Films. Switching teams, I may pass on that Chicago Airbnb. Now, let me be clear. There is no innuendo in the title or the thumbnail. It just means he's going to a different company, so you can knock that off. Thank you for the super chat, Stringer Films. Here's your $2. So, it's interesting. I will delve a little bit into some conspiracy here. I always thought it was really fucking weird that Basic Fun was doing this product that was essentially Arcade1Up, and not just doing Arcade1Up's product, but continuing with projects that we knew Arcade1Up was working on. Like, I knew John was, 90% of the way done with WrestleFest. Then all of a sudden, Basic Fun come up, offer you an Arcade1Up. with WrestleFest the exact way John was going to build it. Then, of course, you get Return of the Jedi, which was what John wanted to do with the next Star Wars cab. So it almost seemed like not only were they, Arcade1Up 2.0 and they're copying them, it seemed like they were literally picking up the plans Arcade1Up had on their whiteboard and actualizing them. So I made a video a while back, and I did this video with Cyrus pulling a Basic Fun logo from his face. It was almost like a mask. Like, surprise, we've been Arcade1Up all along. And I asked the question, is it possible that Arcade1Up and Basic Fun are actually working together? Arcade1Up had developed a bad reputation with the retailers, so they knew they couldn't do their products anyways. The retailers weren't going to pick up their products. But if they work with a third party like Basic Fun, they could still get their products out under a new name. It works like back in the days. Do you remember Konami used to release games for the NES, but they were only allowed to release so many games per year? It was part of Nintendo's seal of quality. So they came up with a second brand called Ultra Games, where they could even offer more. I always wondered if it wasn't a possibility that Ultra Games and Konami is kind of like what Basic Fun and Arcade1Up are doing. And this isn't so much Cyrus switching teams and going to a new job as moving a position as part of that. That's the only that's the only conspiracy I'll throw out there. I just ask you your thoughts on that.
It's so okay. So if we back up a little bit, if they were working on this, they being Arcade1Up, working on these exact same products or projects, why couldn't they get them sold? Was it a cash flow thing? Was it a bad reputation thing? It's that's the thing that kind of could be the the glitch in your theory there.
No, it was a 100% reputation thing. We knew, and I knew from talking to Arcade1Up, and I knew from talking to people in the community, some people that work with some of Arcade1Up's old distributors, saying that like they just had warehouses full of product with Arcade1Up on it. And
then why go buy something almost exactly the same as that, just from a different company?
Because it's the name. It's the name. The name had been sullied, not necessarily the product.
So the product. I don't know. It's to me, it seems like the air has gone out of the building at Arcade1Up. The people, the creatives that were sort of pushing ideas or that knew something about an arcade machine and arcades back in the day, that's gone, and now you have people trying to sell a product, and we know licensing is so expensive, so let's not buy any more licenses. Let's just repackage what we have. That being the direction, the creatives are just leaving the building. And yeah, to your point, if you're not going to worry about buying any more licenses, let's get rid of this Cyrus guy. And then it would make sense if they're just going to drop these projects anyway, these prototypes. And we know since the beginning, there's always been these prototypes of these cabinets that they put together, and some of them actually they went as far as to actually build out the PCB and build out the controls. Some of them were just cab mock-ups. So there's a ton of these things kicking around, these ideas that they had. Is this something that's been so far along that they were able to just kind of pick it up and go with it? When you look at the cabinet, it looks exactly like an Arcade1Up.
Exactly.
The buttons, the on-off switch, the volume control, like the tilted deck, like everything. It's just like a damn carbon copy when you're talking about the Supremes versus the Deluxes.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's tons of credence to that for sure.
Everything. And I know like B Kirby says, well, Basic Fun's been around for a couple of years. I'm not saying Arcade1Up created Basic Fun. I'm saying they reached out for a strategic partnership with another company in the field. The thing that actually kind of takes away from this, and I'll talk about more behind the scenes rumors, I think originally, because the first time I ever heard about Basic Fun was from John D. He told me that they were at a convention and he said, you got to check it out. They're making home arcades. So I made a video about Centipede and Basic Fun and the story that, I was given about basically Atari was unhappy with Arcade1Up and they were looking to work with competitors to try to improve their deal with Arcade1Up. So I'll float this out to you. Is it possible the reason they got all these cool designs and ideas that were Arcade1Up prototype stuff they were working on is because initially maybe they were working with Media1Up, or maybe they were working with John as a consultant, but then they turfed John and brought in Cyrus. Do you think that's possible?
Anything's possible. it's possible that Media 1UP, just acting as a licensing arm for Basic Fun, had made some promises, couldn't come through on those promises, and so they got rid of that, or maybe that contract just ran its course with Media 1UP. That went away, and they decided they needed someone else. Hey, here's this guy named Cyrus who's looking for a job. He's sitting on the corner, he's begging, for quarters and change and whatever. It's really sad. So that, I mean, anything's possible. We don't really know, but I got to think that some people out there, some companies out there see what Arcade1Up was doing and see that there is still obviously there's a niche consumer base, and there is a broader consumer base too, the very, very super casuals that have a small man cave and they just want like one of these in the corner, right? So there's people that are just that, they'll buy like one, right? But it's got to be the right one, it's got to be the right look and all this. So they know that there is a broader appeal out there. They have their own agreements and arrangements and relationships with retailers because of all the stuff that they sell. And they've been doing this for a lot longer as far as the smaller scale stuff. So maybe those individual licensing and retailer agreements and all this stuff, the conditions could have been such that they were sitting back, taking notes, what Arcade1Up did right, what Arcade1Up did wrong. Now they brought in Cyrus. They get a little bit more of that information. I'm sure when they talked to John D, he gave him some insider baseball too. And that has pushed them to just sort of go in this direction and say, listen, we got to go whole hog. Much like a private equity, right? Bunch of cash, go crazy for 2 years, get that ROI, and then maybe in 3 or 4 years you dump it all.
Yeah, maybe. I will openly tell you, at no point do I have any confirmation that John D ever had anything to do with Basic Fun. I know a couple companies that he worked with, but none of them are Basic Fun. Fox is very slimily involved with one of the companies that we think John D worked with, and there's another one that actually isn't in home arcade, not really. So, I don't think he actually worked with Basic Fun. I just find it so fucking weird because, these are projects John D was working on that were like 89% of the way done. And then all of a sudden Basic Fun started doing them. So that's why it's fun to speculate.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the speculation is half the fun, or most of the fun.
Well, James hates everything, throws in $2. He could come up with a reason why they think the same. Thank you so much for the super chat. We know that they're probably using the same factories. They're probably doing all that stuff. I don't know what the answer is. I mean, I think it's smart from Basic Fun from a design standpoint to make your cabs look pretty much exactly like Arcade1Up.
Hold on. My little kid is coming in to say hi.
He doesn't look very little.
Yeah, your kids are much smaller, Mike. This is my youngest.
Hey, I never met friends.
Okay. You stay the night?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, they grow up, Mike.
Stay in the night. That doesn't sound like he's going to a friend's house, Foxy.
He's going to a friend's house.
Friend's house.
No, he's a good kid. Good kid.
Both just merged into a new company, Basic MDF. Yeah, let's not kid ourselves. It's going to be the exact same cab, 100%.
No. It's going to be highest of qualities.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see where this leads in the future. I mean, okay. I didn't anticipate Basic Fun to be anything more than a continuation of Arcade1Up. I called it that, for the people expecting Basic Fun. Like, I know they're doing a new title, they're doing WrestleFest, and it's super exciting. But I would say temper your expectations. This doesn't mean they're going to do wild and wacky shit. I think that they're going to run themselves very similar to Arcade1Up. Make a lot of safe bets. I don't think they're the company that you're going to get your specialty stuff from.
I think that there's nothing. I think there's nothing really wrong with that. And yes, it is smart. You have an install base. You have a consumer that has a miniature arcade filled with these things, and they're looking for new titles to contribute to it, to add to that collection. So there's already an established base there, consumer base that wants these things, and we've been dying for a year and a half, 2 years for something new to come from Arcade1Up. And that is what Basic Fun is doing. Slide in there, make something incredibly similar, just give us a new title, something different, and even make the same games list available, like with the Star Wars cab, but just make the cabinet shape a little bit different. I mean, I don't have any problem with that. I don't have any issue with that. It is a certain type of product. It's an Arcade1Up. It's not a real machine. A lot of people are fine. They're happy with that level of quality, size, all that. So I don't know that they really should make any wild departures from that formula, as long as they come out with games that we want, just different titles. I think we'll be buying them up, honestly.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy a Centipede Countercade. That's all I'm really
I'm not saying
now.
me. I'm not saying me. I'm not saying us. But I think that the community will absolutely buy them up. And you come out with something that's. I mean, if there was a little Hubert, Dubs might seriously give it some thought. If there was a little Robotron, I mean, like a legit Robotron, where Robotron was the marquee title, maybe a few other games on there. But if it was a legit Robotron, you would pick that one up, and put it off to the side and add it to your collection, but it's going to have to be some different titles, some niche titles. And they've got to look at that big catalog of existing products that Arcade1Up has out there and say, we need to do something different. We can't come out with the same thing, because anybody who wants that, they probably already had 5 different versions from Arcade1Up before. So you can't come out with an NBA Jam Basic Fun. Don't do that. No Pac-Man.
Well, they do have a Pac-Man coming out.
I'm out.
I also would say, I'm going to bring this up now because it's funny. I know this is your modus operandi. Fox shared this. I don't have this picture.
I'm going to have to change the shirt now.
Kevin, we have seen a new Pac-Man. We just got Pac-Man Neon, man. There's new Pac-Man all the time.
Yes. Pac-Man fever.
Yeah, so, it's sad. You're going to have to come up with a new meme, Fox. You're not going to be able to use this one anymore. You're going to have to use AI to create a little bit extra stuff. So a couple people in the chat asked for this, and James put a couple stuff out there. So I did send out an image. We're not going to go much longer because I'm actually going to pop onto that gaming show a little bit later. So I don't want to be late for that. But we've got Jim Giroux. Jim Giroux. How are you doing, sir?
Good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. You were talking about something in the chat about why they look so similar. Do you want to impart some knowledge on us, good sir?
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of talked about it before. Like, obviously, they're working with some former employees of ThinkUp.
ThinkUp, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So it's not a surprise that the company that designed their cabs, like those people would take those same designs and bring them over to a new job, new provider, right? So should not be
telling me
shocked.
that we have a chance. Are we going to see the shark fin make a return?
It would not surprise me.
I don't like talking ill of people, but and I really like Jerry. I met him in person, got to talk to him about what he's doing with Wonderland, but I always got the impression that there's a level of hubris with Jerry where he thinks he knows better than everybody else about things. Like, level of hubris with Jerry, he's like, I'm just gonna make a pinball machine myself. How hard can it be? no need to, no need to bring in experts or anything like that. And it's the same, like when he did an interview, I think it was, I can't remember who the interview Jerry did with, but like he came out very bad in that. And he talked about the shark fin being like the best thing that ever happened and stuff like that. So when I heard about the ThinkUp people joining Basic Fun, I'm going to be honest with you. Some of my, or at least what's been presented to me outwardly, some of the big mistakes with Arcade1Up and the downside actually came from ThinkUp. I'm sure they're responsible for a lot of the good too.
Yeah, I think you're going to get that with creative types like Jerry who've had big successes, right? This is a guy that's spent his entire career, many decades, developing toys and some of the big innovative stuff, and he's going to have an ego around that, right? Like, yeah, I've had success. I know better. I know what's right.
Yeah, like Kevin is here in the chat, Kevin R. And he's saying Jerry is a genius, though. No one's debating that at all, right? It's just sometimes some of the things he says comes off, and it's like, again, it's that hubris thing, right? Like, you're like, what do you mean you don't need to bring in like a professional pinball person to help build your table? Like, that just sounds crazy, right?
It's fine.
Yeah. But
Yeah, no,
like,
that's I think that, but I think the Basic Fun has a different roadmap right now. Right now,
Yeah.
this year, copy what Arcade1Up did with new titles. It's just that simple. You've got a customer base, a consumer base that is here to buy them up. Give us new titles. Basically, do what they did. You know, I don't know about the Supreme versus Ultra versus whatever. I don't know if that's too many SKUs or two different variations, but basically, just do what's been done before. New titles, not 500 rehashes within the first year, right? And just build that that foundation, and build that reputation, and then people will come back and build, and you can have some of that pie that Arcade1Up has left on the table or the windowsill.
I want to really quickly bring up this comment from C Marvel 360. I actually talked about this a little last night. Everybody's speculating about the cease and desist. We all think it happened. We're pretty sure it happened, but no one's ever confirmed what happened. No one ever confirmed what it was about. There's all kinds of rumors, going back and forth. Was it about something about the cab? So he's asking the question, how can Basic Fun basically copy Arcade1Up to this level and not get their own cease and desist?
You got to figure out what's proprietary and what's not. I mean, cabinet shape, is it proprietary? I don't know. What's been copywritten? I don't know. I think that they're a big enough company, though. This is not a young startup coming out with their first product. This is a well-established company. I'm sure they have more than one lawyer or more than one firm that's looking at this and saying, okay, what can we realistically do? And, honestly, if you look at the direction that Arcade1Up is going with their thin cabinets, going back to the thicker cabinet, the deeper cabinet, maybe just enough of variation to where they're in the clear. I don't know.
Yeah, and I would say two things. One, we don't know that Basic Fun never got a cease and desist. It's entirely possible. The other thing is, ThinkUp designed those cabs, not Arcade1Up. So when Arcade1Up fired them, their license isn't forever, right? That was a big part of the lawsuit. So, ThinkUp, or the people around ThinkUp, the product engineers, are free to go sell that to whoever they want at that point. Right?
Yeah, smart.
Makes sense.
I will say, here's the thing. At the end of the day, and this is kind of where I want to kind of end it because I don't want to go too much longer. But I think I'm a wrestling fan. I know not everybody else is here, but one of the cool things, there's this tribalist thing online where you have to be one company or another. And I think people forget sometimes it's good that multiple places exist because it's going to make the product better because people are competing. Iron sharpens iron. But also on top of that, it's good news because there's also multiple places for people to work now. Before, if you had like a disagreement or your time was up at one company, your life is ruined. Get out on the road, try to be an independent wrestler. So it's nice because we knew when the Arcade1Up ThinkUp thing fell apart, ThinkUp actually went out of business and they couldn't, stay in place. It's nice to see some of those people landing on their feet and now they're working for Basic Fun. And I don't know what the situation with Cyrus was. Was it like they hired him, like stole him away from Arcade1Up? Did he lose his job at Arcade1Up, then work at Basic Fun? No one knows what that is, and it's not important. But I'm glad there's an opportunity for him to go work somewhere else and do something, right? That's why I like to see so many companies doing this thing because it's better for us, and it's also better for the people that work in them.
Yeah, and it's a great opportunity for Cyrus because now he doesn't have John D's shadow looming over him, right?
Which we're still not clear what that is. What is that shadow? Strippers, vape smoke? John says it's a little man with a penis hanging out.
That's what it is.
It could be, but now he gets to prove himself. He gets to go out there and get the licenses himself because at Arcade1Up, right, he started with all the licenses but didn't really bring any new ones in. So now he gets the opportunity to go say, I can be that guy. I can make those connections. So, it'll be interesting to see how things go moving forward.
Yeah, it's just a wild turn of events. I will, end with the exact same way I started off. I thought Cyrus was going to be with Arcade1Up for life. I thought that company was kind of all around him. And to see this news today, it gave me a million questions with, what's the relationship between Arcade1Up and Basic Fun? What's going on with Arcade1Up? Why would a young professional that has built his way from the top leave? Maybe that's a different mindset. Like I've always been loyal to a fault, to 100% a fault. I will stay somewhere long after I should have, and maybe it's different for some people, right? But and where does this lead Basic Fun? Obviously, some people are going to think that Cyrus is a virus and he's going to cause problems at Basic Fun. But me personally, I think that obviously hiring these people that are experienced with Arcade1Up through the good times at Arcade1Up is only going to strengthen the product and the brand for Basic Fun. So I take this as a good thing.
Well, you look at what's going to follow. Okay, will the good decisions from Arcade1Up follow Cyrus, or will the bad decisions follow? And then we'll see exactly what his real influence was.
Yeah,
time will tell. I think it's a net positive for Basic Fun. It's a net positive for the community because it's pretty obvious Arcade1Up is just doing nothing. They're not even really trying. They're not even trying to pretend to fool us. I mean, go back to the interview, with Rob, just like, hey, you guys, you're not that important. And then he just walked away.
I was a little less negative about it, but at the end of the day, Arcade1Up basically has 6 cabs and a very empty floor space.
Well, he caveated everything he said. Everything he said is that, hey, we're here for the community, but we also know that people in New York want something tiny. And it's like, oh God, every time he said so. So I just think that their focus is wherever it is. And maybe that's the best thing for that company at this stage. That's fine. But I think with Basic Fun, having somebody with some experience, is that experience good or bad? With the decisions being made, will they be good or bad? Only time will tell. But I think I'm not going to speak for anybody else but myself. I mean, if you like Arcade1Up, you probably like these WrestleFest cabinets, at least what we've seen so far.
Yeah. So, guys, I'm gonna abuse my power here really quickly. I'm gonna force you guys to stay on for this for a couple minutes. But I've been doing something in the back area for one of our community members, and I just wanted to share it really quickly here to give you guys a heads up about it. It's been all over my social media. I put posts up about it today, but I want to talk about a friend of ours by the name of Steve Sale. Now, Steve's been a community member for years in the home arcade community. He's always in our chats. He's a super nice guy, makes a lot of positive comments. But a lot of us have gotten to know Steve very, very well thanks to VR and Walkabout Mini Golf. We've been playing with him for a while. And through that process, he's kind of opened up to us and talked to us about some of the issues that he's facing. We found out that Steve actually had a difficult situation with a cancer diagnosis a couple of years ago. And through that, he ended up losing a large portion of his teeth. And he's in a point right now where obviously he loves getting out. He loves talking to us and Walkabout Golf. And he loves that, engagement. But he's super self-conscious because obviously losing a number of his teeth has affected the way he looks. It's affected his speech. And basically outside of our situation where we hang out with him and Walkabout Golf, he's housebound. So we were talking about it one night and he was like, I've never asked for anything myself. I never wanted to do this for myself. I want to get this surgery, but I'm not the kind of person that asks for help. And we were like, no, fuck that, man. If anything, you're the kind of person who definitely deserves help. So myself, MG, a couple other people have been, fighting with him, trying to get information to do this. So we finally got to the finish line, got information up today. Steve was kind enough to send a picture of himself and his lovely wife from back before all this happened to him, showing us his beautiful original smile. What we're trying to do is if there's people from the community that feel comfortable doing so, consider please donating to Steve. Myself and James are organizers on the fundraiser, and Steve is as well. I can tell you that I have nothing to do with the money. I get no benefit from this, neither does James. All the funds go directly to Steve. So this launched today, and we've already got $1,382 raised. A lot of that came from his golf buddies, a lot of really super generous donations. So, if you guys would consider, if you've interacted with Steve or if you've ever talked to him, consider doing anything you can to help, whether that be donating, whether that just be being a friend to Steve and talking to him when you see him in chats, or maybe consider sharing this and trying to help out the goal. We really want, at the end of the day, we want Steve to feel good, for him to get his life back, leave his house, get back into community. He probably won't mind me saying this. He might. But at one point, Steve had a very active social life. He used to work for the Oakland Athletics. He was in the ballpark. He had a bunch of friends. And he can't do that anymore. He just doesn't feel comfortable doing that. And that fucking sucks. And if we can do something about that, we should. So I know Fox, you reached out and you offered to help Steve as well. And James, you're pretty close with him. So what do you think?
I think the world of Steve. I've been talking to Steve for years, just Facebook Messenger, back and forth. He's always been complimentary. He lets me know, hey, I'm gonna get one of those shirts. Those are really cool. You know, we like Star Wars. Just a really good person. And when you hear about this, it's like you really have to drag it out of him, you know, because he doesn't want to share. He doesn't want to complain. He doesn't want to make a fuss or make a big deal about any of it, you know. And we went for a long time before he would share anything about himself. And so the fact that he did open up to me, open up to you, I think it says a lot about how, you know, I think he knows he needs a little bit of help. And I think that we need to check it out. Check out the GoFundMe. Everybody, just check it out. Check it out. See if you can give something. That would be great. If you can't donate, that's okay too. Share it on your social media and get the word out. And you know, just leave a kind word. And when you see him next time in the chat, you know, just say hi to him. And you know, just remember that everybody out there, everybody's going through something. We've got something going on in our lives, and sometimes we just need little, you know, friendly conversation. Sometimes we need a little bit of a helping hand, and that's what this is. So if you can give this a look, if you're in the position to donate just a little bit, every little bit helps, guys, for sure.
James, you're close with Steve as well. Obviously, you're in the Walkabout mini golf group with us. You play with us regularly. Anything you want to say to Steve? There's the man himself right there. I've had many conversations with Steve over the last while, and I can tell you nobody is more appreciative than Steve. Like, I'm so happy that everybody from the golf group jumped in, gave him so much love today. And I hope, even if we don't get to the goal, I just hope this gives a ton of positivity to Steve. And Ezekiel, thank you very much for doing that. I know that you're trying to help out me and stuff like that, but I'm going to turn around and thank you for the super chat. I'm going to give that directly to Steve, brother. I hope you don't mind. And thank you for the support. Damn, now I have to make basic fun hats. You do. Hook us up, brother. I'll pay for my own. I want my own. James, sorry, I cut you off there.
No, I want to say first, thanks, Mike, for actually organizing this and getting it up and going, because Steve, as Fox said, Steve behind the scenes has become friends with a lot of us in the community, talking directly, connecting on our shared hobby of arcades, pinball, even toys. That's, you know, PD7 Phil is actually who introduced Steve and I. So that's how I got to know him. And he's been a big supporter of this community, whether you guys knew it or not. You know, he's donated giveaways to people behind the scenes. He just really enjoys connecting and seeing people happy with his likes and the stuff he cherished. And so for us to be able to give back to him, to bring back his smile, as you put on there, is a huge deal, right? It's a big opportunity, and I can't say enough about Steve. He's a joy to hang out with, joy to play golf with. And, if you can afford to do anything, right, it would definitely be severely appreciated. So.
Yeah, Steve is so friggin' nice, man. Like, even like we used to make jokes with him and call him the ringer. Remember that, James? Because like came in and he was like, I've never played golf before. And then he started winning. I was like, whoa, we bring in shittier people so we feel better about ourselves, Steve. You're a ringer. Guys, thank you so much, David G. I appreciate that. I will pass that along to Steve as well. So, we got $15 US. I'm going to donate that later tonight. I donated $50 Canadian earlier because that's what I had extra in my bank account earlier, and it comes out as $35 US. And like, now I feel like a bum. Thank you very much. Thank you, David G. That's very kind. But instead of giving me super chats, I'm happy to pass it along. I put a link in the chat, and guys, please use that, share that, and make sure the donations go directly to Steve. That's where they deserve to be. Anyways, guys, I've kept you here long enough. Thanks for listening to me about the Steve stuff. And again, breaking news. Before I forget, we got B Kirby here dropped 20 memberships. B Kirby alone has built my membership base well over 100. So thank you so much, B Kirby. You're fucking awesome, man. I think you alone built that for me. So thank you very much. And congratulations to the 20 people who got memberships. Kevin, we'll get you trading in USD in no time, Mike. Don't worry. So anyways, guys, oh my God. Adam. Okay, so now it's 35 US. I'm donating later. Don't do that though. Please give
directly to the GoFundMe. Yes,
directly to the GoFundMe. Adam, thank you very much. $35. I'm going to send Steve Sales' way. So thank you very much for doing that.
For those who don't know, the reason we say that is we don't want YouTube to get like 30% of this. So
I'll make up for it to make sure he gets it. But make sure the money goes directly to Steve. No one has taken anything out from it that way. It all goes directly to Steve and what he needs. So
absolutely,
guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. Fun little bit of news. James, 19K Fox on short notice. Thanks for coming on. We'll check you out, guys, later. Hopefully we get some more news about all these companies pretty soon. The Basic Fun pre-orders go live October 13th. So let the fun begin. Is Home Arcade back? I don't know, but at least it's interesting again. See you, everybody.
Absolutely. Later.
So, James, what were you in the middle of going from one wife's house to the other?
What's that?
Were you in the middle of going from one wife's house to the other? Like, how does that work?
Absolutely.
Like, do you have one compound or do you have different houses for all the wives?
Well, it's definitely the James compound.